Hello, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, as Pakistan prepares to go to the polls on Saturday, can the youth vote make all the difference? Our digital producer Malika Bilal is here looking out for your live feedback. It's already Thursday in Pakistan right now, so the countdown to the election is getting very exciting, very frenzied. What's the community saying right now about social media and the youth involvement in the elections?
Well, there's definitely a buzz in the run-up to this election, and there's a lot of talk about the role of social media, whether it's a distraction, whether it's going to bring out that youth vote that you mentioned. One person, Ahmed, kind of breaks it down. He says social media is just another name for word of mouth. It's helped mobilize the youth to speak against the corrupt and the powerful. The question is, during the show, we'll go into that, which youth has it mobilized and whether or not this is an instance of urban versus rural divide. So for those of you at home, we want your thoughts on that. Join the conversation. Just use the hashtag AJStream.
Also joining us in the studio is Farhani Isfahani, and Farhani is a former journalist and a member of the Pakistani People's Party. She serves as the media advisor to the PPP co-chairman Asif Ali Zardari, the president of Pakistan. And we also have a bunch of guests in our Google Plus Hangout, and we'll introduce them in just a minute. But you don't forget that you can also hang out with us by clicking on the link below and adding us to your circles. It's just one more way that you can be in the stream.
My name is Mujtaba Al-Tamimi. I am an Iraqi college student and a member of Fikerspace, the first hackerspace in Baghdad, and I am in the stream.
Pakistan is preparing to head to the polls to vote in a new civilian government on May the 11th. And many are closely watching the country's 40 million youth to see which way their ballots will sway. Now, the run-up to Saturday's election has been violent, with more than 100 killed since last month. Inflation and unemployment are high, and the nation is dealing with multiple major security concerns. While voter turnout is a huge unknown, some parties are directly targeting their youth base. Social media has ramped up with Facebook pages, active Twitter accounts, and large-scale SMS text campaigns. So, do Pakistan's youth have the will to change the course of their country's politics? In a nation where social media is flourishing, will these campaigns translate to votes? Do tweets win seats? To help us take a deeper look into the upcoming elections, we're joined by Arab Alvi from Karachi. He's the team leader for the PTI party's social media group. And in our Washington studio, Arsen Butt. He's the co-founder of the blog 5rupees.com and assistant professor at George Mason University right here in the DC area. And his research focuses on Pakistani politics. Now, I'm going to start in Karachi with Arab Alvi. If you didn't see the accident Imran Khan had yesterday, let me just show it to you. I'm just going to pull it up here and play it. He was at a rally in Lahore, and he's going up here on a pickup truck to get to the stage. And then just watch what happens next. And we watched this several times in our office. It's really quite shocking. We have to start this, not talking about social media, but asking how Imran Khan is.
I think, thank God, he is well. He has a few bruises on his forehead and his head, compression fractures, mild compression fractures on the spinal area, and 3 ribs that have been fractured. But overall, he's upbeat. He is the first statement that came out of from the hospital bed was he was thinking about Pakistan and the well-being of Pakistan. He actually left off with a very emotional statement yesterday, and I think most of Pakistanis were moved by what he said. He didn't think about himself, but he said, "I've delivered what I could. Now it's your turn, and you have to take the baton forward to the elections."
And I checked out your Facebook page for Imran Khan's supporters, and that interview with him from his hospital bed is on the Facebook page, which brings us quite nicely back to social media. You're viewed, the PTI party, as the party with all of the toys and the tools as far as social media is concerned. What do you have? What are you using?
Oh, we're using everything. Basically, we started off with Facebook about 3-4 years back, Twitter and actually blended in, and YouTube until it was banned in Pakistan. We were leveraging that channel as well for video messages. We're trying to use everything that is possible and thoroughly enjoying it. We've got a team of volunteers who have been managing these sites and doing it passionately for a better Pakistan under Imran Khan and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
Farnaz, is there any jealousy with the other parties that PTI seem to be out there and they're kind of using all the social media tools they possibly can?
Not at all. Actually, there's this perception that PTI and Imran Khan first were the pioneers of using social media. Actually, it was General Pervez Musharraf, the military dictator, who was in office for 9 years before our party came to power. And what was very sad with that, actually, when you talk about whether tweets will and likes will translate into votes, General Musharraf, on the basis of the likes on his Facebook page, ignored what his advisors were telling him about going back to Pakistan. And he thought he would be greeted by millions and millions of the youth out at Karachi airport. There were a few hundred there. You see, because whereas my former leader, Benazir Bhutto, when she came back to Pakistan, was greeted by millions in the street from all over the country, that was because there was grassroots support. So the recent example of General Musharraf has shown a lot of the old democratic parties in Pakistan that tweets and Facebook likes do not necessarily turn into votes cast.
Well, a little bit of skepticism there, and I think we'll get a little bit more from our Google Plus Hangout, where I want to go to Shahryar Khan, who is a critic of Imran Khan and also runs a social media campaign for his father's campaign. I pulled that up on my screen here, the Facebook campaign for Mahfouz Yar Khan. But while you tell us about what it takes to run that campaign, Shahryar, also tell us about this blog that I pulled up, I Will Not Vote for Imran Khan. You're a skeptic, clearly. Why?
Okay, I mean, this blog, by the way, has brought a lot of attention towards me, and it is good and bad at the same time. Basically, what happened to me was I realized that when I went to my friends and I basically showed them my dad's manifesto and what my dad was standing for, they were sort of blindly supporting the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So what I decided to do was I decided to take every single conversation I had with my friends and just put it in one place so that I can just refer everybody to the internet and actually explain to them why I'm not very PTI friendly.
Well, precisely what are some of your critiques?
I mean, okay, the biggest critique ever is that I cannot vote for somebody that sympathizes with the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. I feel that that is not on. They have basically halted electioneering and campaigning in 3 provinces out of the 4 in Pakistan, and it seems that the election is only taking place in Punjab between the Muslim League N and the PTI. So I feel this election is sort of not as free and fair as it should be. And yeah, and that was number 1. That was Taliban support, because I feel there's no middle ground as far as negotiations are concerned. They've hijacked the election. And number 2, the tried and tested argument. Imran Khan himself has spent over 4 illustrious years in parliament. He voted against a women's protection bill. He voted for Maulana Fazlur Rahman to be prime minister. So I'm sorry, I would rather vote for Mahfouz Yar Khan any day than vote for anything that is Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
And not just because he's your father.
I will, but my father stands for education and security. And in my books, that has to be number 1 priority as far as education is concerned. And security obviously goes with it. Because my father feels that if education and security, those issues are taken care of, every other issue will normalize itself.
Alvi in Karachi.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's got some points. I mean, I think he's supporting his father, and that's the motivation that's behind it. But I think what has happened is Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Imran Khan has been condemning the Taliban for a long time. The TTP, anyone who kills innocent people is we're against them, that flat out. In Malala Yousafzai's case, we were the first people there who actually supported her and actually condemned the Taliban that were there. We've been constantly against them, anyone who takes innocent people's lives. So I think that the misconception is just being driven by the fact that they just don't like Imran Khan and want to vote for his father. It's absolutely right. Supporting, I think Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is very focused on education and is also focused on health as being one of the two major emergencies that have to be engaged in Pakistan. And I think there are a lot of positives that need to be played up, and it's just shrugging it aside just merely because he's supporting his father or any other campaign. I mean, I think Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has come out as a unique force, and Farhanaz was mentioning it's just not about likes. I totally agree, it's not about likes. We have pulled out people on the streets. The 30th October Jalsa in 2011, the 25th December Jalsa in 2011, the Quetta Jalsa, the Quetta rally, 23rd March just recently went by. We have actually pulled out people on the streets day after day, and Khan accidentally had an accident. He was on the 86th rally that took place in the last 25 days. We were about to hit 100 on the 9th of May at D Chowk, which would have been a 100th century, which is symbolic in cricket terms, and would have stricken a good chord amongst the people of Pakistan that he has hit a century. But unfortunately, he's just out of commission now. But we've done great wonders. We pulled out the crowd despite having the maximum number of social media likes that we have all across.
I like the way that you're using your cricketing metaphors. I feel it's part of your job description there, but nicely done. I really wanted to remind people that this conversation is about social media and young people in Pakistan, and we're not going to bring out your political soapboxes necessarily. So bearing that in mind, I just want to go to Annie. Annie, I want to get a sense of what the atmosphere is like in Pakistan right now for young people. Are you getting texts on your phones all the time? Are there ads on Facebook all the time? Give us a sense of what it's like to be a young person where the politicians really want your vote.
First, I would like to tell your viewers or audience about PakVotes. It's an election monitoring citizen journalist platform. And it's the only project in Pakistan right now that truly reflects the democratic system, that we are giving voice to citizens. All people here, they're talking about their political or official stance. PakVotes actually represent the citizen and the youth I am working with. My team is like all under 30, and the youngest is 17 and a half. And it's a kind of interesting stuff that PTI claims. I agree with Awab Alvi, what he said, that they pulled out the crowd through social media. I agree with him that PTI is trying to bring the apolitical class of Pakistan to the streets, which is like credible. But on the other hand, they're not actually teaching these people how to behave, number one, because we have actually developed some code of conduct for these people. I would go back to what Shahryar mentioned about his blog and how he was being trolled or being attacked by some young people. And then also there's one more important thing about social media and youth, that we cannot predict that all these social media likes and followers would turn into real voters. Because all these likes, if you monitor them, they are like someone sitting in Australia, he's a plumber, someone sitting in the US and he's a photographer. They are not real voters. So in Pakistan, what I get to see is that in my office, or the people I interact with, or the people who are sending us their I Vote campaign, their pictures, who they are going to vote for, I even see people talking about some parties which are not mainstream. For example, Awami Workers Party, which is a left party, and then some parties from Balochistan, which nobody talks about in Punjab. So the things are not as easy as it looks from outside, and maybe for international audience, PTI gets more attention because they have more social presence and they have more money.
Well, Annie, it's exactly that point that you just ended on that I want to bring to Asan. Mariam Sabri on Facebook says, the youth vote has always been important. It's the elite youth vote that's what's getting special attention this time. So Asan, is this a question, as we mentioned at the top of the show, of this urban versus rural divide? Is this an elite that we're hearing from, and are we not hearing from the masses of people who will actually go vote?
Well, certainly if your focus is on things like Facebook and Twitter, you are going to be focused on the elite, if only because in Pakistan, depending on which estimate you sort of subscribe to, about 10% of the population has an internet connection. So right there, you're talking about very minute numbers of people who even have access to things like Facebook or Twitter. Now, amongst that population, yeah, I would imagine that the PTI generally sort of dominates the social media landscape, and that's fine, that's fair enough, that's who they're targeting, but we should not be confused about the extent to which this matters.
Farhanaz, if PPP is not perhaps using social media as much as PTI, what are you using? What are your methods to get young people to come and vote on Saturday?
Well, there are three things, and I will not just, I think earlier you sort of, when I spoke, you thought I was representing a party soapbox, and I'm actually speaking for the country and all those people who are dying. I sit here today not just as a member of the PPP, but also as a representative of the ANP and the MQM, the three liberal parties who the Taliban issued a statement that they were going to kill these three liberal secular parties. They have been bombing us, our leaders, our workers, our rallies all over the country. So, but we are still continuing because we believe so much in the democratic process, win or lose. We are still going and doing traditional politics, house to house. Pakistan People's Party has tremendous amount of young people and a lot of young women, by the way. A lot of what you see in the PTI, as someone mentioned here, about what people who are political and non-political feel in Twitter in Pakistan, that we call them the trolls from PTI. Abusive language, very nasty behavior, and you can look and check on Twitter feeds from every other political party and people from civil society and women. For example, Asma Jahangir, the leading human rights lawyer in Pakistan, was abused terribly on Twitter, and it was offensive.
But Farhanaz, would you say that's because you're actually approaching young people and the way they react and talk to each other is very different from the way that older people might do?
Well, no, PMLN also has young people. PPP has young people. All the parties have young people. And we have young leadership. And in fact, I'd like to tell you that when they talk about, anyone talks about women candidates, the PPP has the highest amount of women candidates, over 7%, which is still very low. PTI has the lowest at 2%. When you look at Twitter in Pakistan, 2 million followers, right? Out of those 2 million, 70% are male. Only 30% female. So when you start looking at that, I am a woman politician, and I see the people who come to our rallies are young girls, older women, young men with their grandfathers. And that's what you see in politics all over Pakistan, including, I'm sure, at PTI rallies.
Fayaz Khan, you're on our Google Hangout right now. Do you feel that politicians are wasting their time trying to reach out to you using social media? Does it make more sense for them to be there in person, for you to be at a rally perhaps?
Well, that's exactly the point. In terms of social media in Pakistan and its use politically for youth mobilization, I think that you have to look at it rationally. Like earlier it was said about the penetration numbers, people who have access to it, the audience segment. But one of the important things that most people forget is to actually do two things. One, actually define social media, but it's not, because social media is not Facebook. Let me just clear that out. 99% of the people in Pakistan believe, Facebook equates to social media. For example, there are thousands of blogs in Pakistan that are actually run by people with average age of 19 and 24, and they're more popular sometimes than a lot of our news websites. So that's one thing. The second is actually, social media is just a tool. You need objectives. You need to define, what is it that you want, and it's just a means to an end. It's not actually, getting. For example, if you put a message out there, it can create maybe a perception. It can create an opinion, but it does not create voter. It does not, get that people to get out of their homes and vote. I can give you examples of hundreds of people, my own friends, who love PTI, who love other parties. They're really aggressive on Facebook, Twitter, and blogs, but I know for a fact that none of them are going to be voting on 11th.
Well, Awab, you know, Farhana's raised a lot of good points earlier, and our community is picking up on them just right now. And violence is one of those points. Ahmed tweets in fact, the youth are very eager to vote, but precarious security situations impede them not to determine their future. And another one from Naseem, who says terrorism is the most important issue Pakistan is facing, which is affecting the economy and almost every affair of the country. And of course, this includes the youth. So, Awab, is this a concern for you, and how are you addressing it?
Oh, absolutely. I think the terrorism issue is, we're actually wooing the voter that has probably never voted before. And the fact that these bomb blasts or these killings are going around the city, even in Karachi, it will deter the young, the borderline, the voter that might want to come out if everything was safe and complicit. But I think it will impact our vote bank if these attacks continue. But at the same time, I'm hopeful that the people desperately want change. They've seen these existing governments, the PPP, the Farnas mentioned all these three parties in coalition. They've actually run the country for 5 years, and the sentiments that you see within the country, and not even saying on social media, etc., within this country, people are tired of this and they want a change for whichever party. I think the decision will be made on the 11th of May, and the top running candidate, the parties that are there, is PTI, the PMLN and PPP, but PPP has lost its credibility to quite some extent. So I think we are in for a tussle, and it's a toss-up literally on the May 11th, and who wins, who loses, but we shall see. And I think PTI has done enough to mobilize enough masses on the streets to be able to translate those Facebook likes, or you might call it the attendees of the Jalsas, to actually come out and vote on the 11th of May.
I'm just going to do a quick round robin in our Google Hangout, and when I say quick Google Hangout, I mean quick. So if there was an issue that really concerns you as a young voter coming up on May the 11th, because we've been talking about the packaging, not the issues. Let's start with Annie. What do you care about? Unmute yourself, Annie, so we can see you and hear you. Okay. There you go. Yes. What are the critical issues you feel that young people will turn out to vote for come Saturday?
I think what Awab said, that change is the slogan right now in Pakistan. Everybody wants change. But change actually has different meanings for everyone. For some people, it's only like premiership. For some, it is education. For some, it's we have minorities in Pakistan. For Ahmadis, for example, they are not. I stand for them. They are not participating in these elections, and none of the political parties actually stand with them. And PTI's leader Imran Khan, he came out with a very nasty, I would say, campaign against them. Then I would also vote for Baloch. You know, nobody's talking about them, that what's happening there. But it's very unfortunate in Pakistan as a young person that you don't see people talking about these issues. They're talking about a change with a bat, and that's a reality.
All right, Annie Zaman, thank you for that. Fayez Khan, the issues that will get you and other young voters out on Saturday are what?
Well, basically, it's about improving, you know, it's about getting out there and making and continuing to make a better Pakistan. This is what PMLN has always said. And if you listen to Nawaz Sharif as well, he says that he's not after power. He just wants the country to, you know, have a better future. Our kids to have a better future. People like me to have a better future here. So it's you know, I think it's the message of hope that will probably get people out there to vote. And I hope that people will use the power and the creation given to them, the right of creation through social media, for more positive purposes in Pakistan, rather than propaganda and trying to beat each other up.
Shahiria Khan?
Again, for me, it's education, education, more education. I feel if more Pakistanis go to school, they will understand that change might have different definitions. I feel if more Pakistanis go to school, they will make better choices, and thus maybe not even align themselves with extremist elements, because they can understand more and they can comprehend better. So again, my election symbol is the ink pot. Whoever talks about education, I am for you and will always be for you, because Pakistan needs to fix its education emergency, and that will fix everything else automatically, systematically, will normalize all other issues.
Right. Thank you to all of our Google Hangout, to all of our guests in Pakistan, in the studio here in Washington, D.C., to our community who've also been chipping in. This conversation is not over. We will continue the post-show at stream.aljazeera.com. Now, coming up on tomorrow's program, the murder trial of a German neo-Nazi group that's been accused of killing immigrants. That has many searching for answers in a country so deeply affected by its Nazi past. How did the group go undetected for so long? Send us your thoughts on that. And in the meantime, we will see you online. Welcome to the Stream's online post show. We're discussing the upcoming Pakistan elections and the power of the youth vote. Joining Malika and me on set is Farhanaz Isfahani. In our Washington studio, we have Asan Butt, our Alvi from Karachi, and we also have our Google Plus Hangout. I have to show you all this little ad that I found on Facebook. It's Imran Khan's supporters page, and I'm not nailing my colours to any one political party. It's just like, it's a cute little guy. He's on Facebook, and I really wanted to play him. So stand by for this. Have a listen to this.
Assalamu alaikum. My message for all Pakistanis. Our future is in your hands. On the 11th of May, please don't stay back. Wake up, get out of your homes and vote for Naya Pakistan. Vote for Imran Khan. Naya
Pakistan. So what happens, Farhanaz, if I live in rural Pakistan and I don't have Facebook, I don't have a smartphone, I'm never going to see this? How do political parties reach young people in those areas?
It is very much contact with party workers. That's how the People's Party has always worked, as have all the traditional parties. You know, instead of just big, huge rallies, you have corner meetings, and everyone from that area or that village comes, and the candidates will speak, but you also get to ask them questions. And because they are going to live among you, you get to hold them responsible for a lot of things, which is different to having the 10 degrees of separation, for example, with Facebook, etc. So we are present everyone is now present, though I will concede that PTI and Dr. Alvi and his whole team have done a terrific job. But for example, that little Facebook clip, that child was adorable, but he was speaking to us in English. Now, what does that tell you? That means that you're talking about a certain elite class in certain urban centers. That's it. You're talking about Karachi, Lahore, Peshawar, Faisalabad, areas like that. So the point is that when we sort of do our interviews, when we're in Sindh, we go on Sindhi TV channels. When we're in Punjab, we'll speak in Punjabi. When we're in the Saraiki areas, we'll speak in Saraiki. Whether it's at the corner meetings, whether it's door-to-door constituency hangouts, or whether it is in our advertising and our communication. So it's because we are a rural party. Our people are among the poorest in Pakistan, and they are primarily agricultural. So things are changing in Pakistan. Pakistan is becoming more urban, so there's far more space for Mr. Imran Khan and PTI than there was. But it is still primarily rural.
Well, you know, Don Lovell here on Facebook, one of our community members, is chiming in with a little nuanced perspective. He says, maybe the question we should be asking is whether or not all the votes by the Pakistani people will be counted accurately. The youth can come out in droves against the current government, but if voting fraud is widespread, as it's been in past elections, Don says, it will all be for naught. Asin, I want to go to you with that. Talk to us about whether a corruption is something to be worried about, and also talk to us about this first monumentous transfer of power from civilian government to civilian government that we're about to see.
So on the first issue, I don't think voting fraud or voter fraud or rigging or any of those types of issues are very serious concerns. I'm sure there might be sort of the odd polling station where something untoward might happen, but in general, I don't think there's a whole hell of a lot to worry about on that issue. I think on voting irregularities, the violence matters a lot more. So, for example, certain parties or certain locales might be more threatened by non-state actors and militant actors than other locales and other polling stations. So that's more likely to have an effect rather than any voting fraud or rigging. As for the transition, I think it's a very monumental achievement, as you said. It's the first time in Pakistan's history that a freely and fairly elected government is completing its tenure, and it's the first time that democratically elected parties are facing an electorate that can judge them based on the stuff that they did rather than the stuff that they're saying. Parties in past elections have been able to sort of conjure up this narrative of victimization. That's something that they can't really do this time. They actually have to just stand on their accomplishments, and I think that's a very heartening development.
Alvi, in Karachi, if you look on a lot of social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, there's a lot of Imran Khan around, the idea of him being a hero figure. But if you're trying to appeal to young people who were probably never around when he was actually playing cricket, is that going to be an effective way to get people to vote, to get the younger people to vote?
I think that the name itself, the Imran Khan name itself, is just tremendous. I mean, yesterday's fall literally united the entire nation. I'm thankful to all the parties to have offered the sympathies and offered their support for Imran Khan, and I think that's monumental. His name is literally in the record books of one of the greatest leaders that has emerged. I just wanted to talk about what these elections are. These elections is a mixture of the electronic media, the campaigns on the electronic media, with the additional social media as an adjunct. Yes. I don't think social media is the biggest figure there, and the direct hand-to-hand, handshaking, hand-pumping campaigns that need to be done. So it's a mixture of all three: the talk shows on TV, the social media interactions, and all these videos that we put on, and the hand-pumping. So it's changed the landscape of democracy in Pakistan, and as the speaker rightly said, it's more engagement that needs to be done. And I think what Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf has done is kind of merge all these things together. It brought in a large amount of social media. It went into the grassroots movements, as a sense, had massive rallies all across the country, and at the same time is mobilizing a lot of people and hopefully the youth to vote, which is about 38% of the population. That is a new voter that has come in and will have the momentum to swing the vote. And as far as election fraud, I agree, it's not going to be much of an issue if the voter turnout rises. If previously it was about 32 to 35%, if it rises up, shoots up to about 60% turnout, I don't think anyone can actually fudge the election numbers anyway when there's a large amount of people that show up to vote. And last time we saw 60% was in 1970s. So it's about good 40 years later that we might see a large voter turnout. And I think there's a lot to do with what the existing government did and what the youth now wants to bring to the table, and it wants to justify whoever they vote for. I'm sure they'll make the right decision, and at the end, it's going to be revolutionary.
Well, let's speak to one of those youth one more time. Annie, in our hangout, earlier in the live show, you mentioned minority groups, and we're hearing from them. Faiz on Facebook says, please follow the hashtag No Elections and Baluchistan, as the majority of the Baluch people are rejecting the upcoming elections under what they call Pakistani occupation. We say no to elections. Another voice, Basra, says civil rights for Ahmadi Muslims, freedom of religion, removal of corrupt government controlled by mullahs and clerics of the mosques. Now, Annie, I know that you work to try to get out those, minority voices. What are you hearing?
In Pakistan?
Yes.
I don't actually hear people talking about minorities at the moment. And it's very sad that there are many like-minded people or so-called like progressive liberal people who are supporting certain parties who are encouraging forces like TTP or other fundamentalist groups who want to persecute Ahmadis, who don't want to talk about other religious or sexual minorities in Pakistan. So it's very, for a person like me or for organization which I am running right now, like our project, we feel very scared that what would happen after 11th of May. If, you know, youth or certain parties don't have any clear agenda about sexual and religious minorities in this country, then we don't see any space for ourselves.
I have to say thank you very much to all of our guests. I wish you, everybody in Pakistan, a very safe, a very democratic elections, and we'll be following, of course, here at the stream online and on TV as well. I have to say thank you to Farinaz Ispahani, Asan Bhatt and Arab Alvi, and of course our Google Hangout as well. On the next show, the murder trial of German neo-Nazi group has many searching for answers in a country that's still very deeply affected by its Nazi past. Now, how did the group go undetected for so long? We'll be exploring that tomorrow. Send us your thoughts. Until then, we'll see you online.